Welcome to today's post-day analysis here in twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show and robanddan.tv/live. We appreciate you guys sticking with us and supporting both streams that are going on, both ourselves and Imagine stream that happens. You can see them both, robanddan.tv/live. Tuning in supports both streams, and it helps us get some extra numbers and keep things on the air in a little bit of a better way. We have Oracle, we have Imagine, and we have Morty joining us as well. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Now, let's get right into it here. The first game of the evening. Imagine, what did you have available for us?
So first match was between Holy Roman Army and Sky Invading Rhinos, two of the top teams. I think Holy Roman Army was 4-0 and Sky Invading Rhinos 3-1. So quite an important matchup there. Holy Roman Army being probably the most surprising team in the entire few weeks for so far, and they kind of continued to romp. I think they won either 5-1 or 5-2. I don't quite remember the score off the top of my head.
5-2, I think it was.
Yeah, and they just, they took a lumberfish and they wrecked face on fjords. That's kind of what happened. It wasn't that the Rhinos played essentially that badly. It's just, the Holy Roman Army were hitting shots. They were getting the kills. They were getting the positions. They were sitting in their opponent's spawn, just, basically getting them as soon as they were coming up. And they just continued their fantastic play that they've been showing so far.
Indeed. Did very, very, very well this week.
It was a week of a couple different upsets that happened. Going over my notes if I can find them here. There it are.
I wouldn't say there were two. I'd say there was one big upset today, like this week. I'd say the rest were like within expected boundaries.
I will say, watch, because I think I actually managed to watch most of your games as well. Today seemed like one of those weeks when all the games, whichever way they went, they were very straightforward. One team had just won. Like, it wasn't, we've had a lot of close matches recently, but it's just one team kind of dominated the match in basically every single match today.
Yeah.
That was a little bit surprising to me because it's been pretty close so far in this season.
Yeah, I'd say like a lot of the games have either been close or like the scores have been very close.
There were a couple different things going on there. Again, I really thought that SAC was going to be able to handle Merrymen. Clearly I was wrong. Something's going on with Sacrilege because, in the last couple of games, we've seen them be pretty steady. They did falter a bit against Cake in week number 2.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought they would have been able to handle the Merrymen, but Two Left Socks, an amazing pilot, really doing a great job in that one.
And the crazy thing is they did it without Zill.
Yeah.
Oh, Zill wasn't in there?
No. It was Zill is out on vacation. He was visiting family for the 4th of July, and so it was Skyraider and Two Left Socks who drove them to a victory. We can discuss that later, but yeah, it's just crazy to think about that.
That was pretty convincing. That was a pretty convincing win.
Yeah.
Cool. So our first game that we had on our stream, Glowwater Thralls versus. Wait, no, that was game number 2. What am I thinking about?
For our first was Rider versus Clamor.
Thank you. I thought Clamor would have done a little bit better against the Riders there, but Luosi, obviously, being back has really helped the team out. He did take a week off there where they faltered against Holy Roman Army. They did have some disconnect issues, but Hillerton able to easily step in and say, okay, don't worry, you guys, I got this. And as soon as Hillerton joined, that was kind of the last nail in the coffin in that combination.
Yeah, I was watching on the end of that, and it was kind of brutal when he showed up.
And that was double Marbula build on that.
Dunes.
On that.
Yeah, it was classic. It was one of them had a slightly different Artemis build, but you had Merc on top, Artemai on the wings for one of them. Like, this was old, late 2013 builds. Like so, and it just so happens that it counters Junkers really well. I don't know if you were listening, but I was explaining the reason it works so well is because like mercs are just strong in battle on the dunes in the first place.
Yeah.
But they're especially good against the Junker because okay, so what are a couple of the Junkers like big advantages? Well, first you have the trifecta. Okay, that's just strong, whatever. The Artemis, especially the burst ammo, counters that because you hit the hull, you end up hitting every gun. You have the small hull. You have the small target to hit. That gets countered because the Artemis and the Mercury are extremely accurate weapons. Then you have, the high armor stat. I mean, that's kind of the last resort. But the Merc shreds
The Mercury,
through armor
yeah.
on that easy to it's really easy. I mean, even with the Junker, it's easy to land that Mercury onto the armor. So like, what does it have left? Nothing. Like those double mobulas pure counter the Junker. On top of that, they were being smart and targeting the main engine, not the turning engines. So as soon as the main engine went down, every successive Mercury and Artemis shot was landing.
Yeah, it seems in this current build of the game that the Mercury is basically the anti-Junker gun at long range, really, as you were saying.
Anti-Junker, and as we later would see, it was also anti-heavy, heavy gun on a goldfish.
And like that big target with a bow on top.
A very convincing win for the Riders this week. They faltered again against HRA this week, showing that they're still a very dominant force. I cannot wait in week 8 to see Riders versus Glowwater Thralls. That is going to be a game.
Well,
that's going to be fun.
There was one more thing about the match that I didn't mention. All of that on top of the fact that like you're playing on dunes and then the Mercury is going to outrange the Hades, and the Hades is more of a medium range weapon. Like it gets used in long range when you aren't fighting mercs. But the Riders had mercs. And every time the Clamor tried to approach, they just got merked down. Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, that's all I really had to say about that.
There you go.
Yeah. That was a 5-0. Like there's only so much you can say about a 5-0.
Yeah. There's only so much you can say.
I think that was all metagame. Like that was all metagame, and that was all counters.
Yeah.
Well, it was also very
good, but
it was very appropriate weapons for that map as well. I mean, what else are you going to stick on a Mobula in that circumstance? It's
well, this
pretty
is
much
kind of
painting
what I was
by numbers.
talking about. Actually, just when I started, I'd say like midway through when I started casting, I was starting to say, these teams are getting good enough where they can't just run their most comfortable builds. They have to start playing to the map. And we saw that this game. Like, this game was absolutely 100%. They picked the right guns for the map. They didn't just do what they were always comfortable with. And it worked. Like, that is how, like, down to the wire, and I don't want to use cliches, but that's how skilled this game is getting. Like, we're coming down to the point where builds are going to make or break a team in a match.
Yeah, it was a very good game played by Riders. I think the Ducks folks simply exposed themselves a lot more than they should have as well. They didn't really use cover beyond hiding in the wreck, which I think is a big mistake, especially when you have Junkers available to you and you just pop out and then pop back in. You have to use cover a little more actively. There may not be much of it on dunes, but it is there and it is absolutely available to you. You just have to use it. Game number 3 for the day. Imagine, what did you have?
So we had the Sacrilege versus Merry Men game.
I got the end of that. That was, I was not expecting that.
No, neither was I.
No, Sacrilege did have a little problem. They had somebody disconnecting, and then in the middle of a pause, they got force spawned right in between the two Merrymen ships. Like, the Merrymen weren't moving at all. They just happened to be fighting down in blue spawn, and they got force spawned into a position where they were right in the middle of the Merrymen, and they couldn't get a replacement player for
Gatling,
the person that disconnected in time. So, the pause timer ended and game had to go on. So it was a little bit unfortunate situation there for Sacrilege. They weren't maybe not at full strength. Regardless, the Merrymen came out and just took it to them. They really they pulled out a Watchafish, which I was a little bit scared about at first. They did.
I think it's always kind of a scary thing to see.
Yeah, they did get a little bit countered on that with it was an Artemis Carronade front on a
carrot.
And it did get them did net the Sacrilege team a kill, and actually near the end, Sacrilege team was actually pushing the Merrymen back and close to yet another kill. Merrymen, I think, gave up a second kill, so it was 5-2, and they could have gotten another one, but they just managed to pull out the last. The Merrymen managed to pull out the last one, getting pushed all the way from blue spawn into red spawn. Like that's what was going on there.
Who was flying the Watchafish for Merrymen?
Sky Raider.
Okay.
Yeah. He loves the goldfish. So.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. I know you're talking about like the pause kind of messing them up, but I came in like as the pause was there, and the Merrymen were really, giving Sacrilege a number.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, the most of the fight went Merrymen's way. Let's not. It's
not just the
around
pause.
That. Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't help them any, but they were already down. I think
3-1.
It was either 2-0 or 3-1 or something like that. So it was pretty dire situation already, and I was still somewhat surprised with it. In the battle of the Metamidians that was going on, the Merrymen's was winning it. They got the kills over, even though there were some missed mortar shots once more. But it really just Merrymen once again almost completely just dominated that match.
I mean, we've seen it happen a few times with Merrymen. I've seen it more happen with them than I've seen it with anybody else. That they can come out with these upsets maybe once a tournament. You do get that. Wait, they're actually winning, and they're winning well. And I think I wasn't so surprised, and especially when that goldfish showed up, because I've flown in pub matches against that goldfish, and it has beat the living snot out of me every single time. Every time. But 7 games in a row. Oh, what? I'm just going to wipe the floor with you. It's very good.
Now, this was also a key game for both Sacrilege and Merrymen. They were both sitting at 2-2. With this, Merrymen now go up to 3-2 and are tied for third place. Sacrilege down to 2-3. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to work their way up to the upper brackets.
Yeah. Today was a very complicated day for the brackets and where everyone is sitting at right now. According to the official rankings, and I do believe my rankings reflect that. Let's see if I'm right.
Chat's making me giggle.
What?
They've gone on to discussing casters now.
The chat is having fun. Apparently,
yes.
I'm gonna go take a look at this chat now.
Now, it's Glowwater Thralls out in front with HRA. Both are unbeaten. I think both are going to stay unbeaten going into the Gold League. Ryder right behind HRA. Then it's Cake. Cake bringing up probably the butt end of the Gold League, along with the who is that? Sir did get knocked down a peg with their loss to HRA today.
Yep.
That was a tough loss. It looked like Sir was trying to get something going there, but we'll get to that here in a moment. BFS News and the Art of War at the very bottom of the standings. BFS did get that win. We'll talk about it later again. But right now, top 5: Glowwater Thralls, HRA, Ryder, Cake, and Sir. It looks like the schedule, considering the schedule, it might hold to that order going into the Gold League, but we'll see how week 7 and 8 progress. Moving on, game number 2 on the Rob and Dan show stream: Glowwater Thralls versus DPA.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I gotta say, I was expecting the result. I wasn't oh my god, Glowwater Thralls did some incredible engagements. I mean, twice. Okay, so the first disable they got on this Pyramidian, they literally sweep it. Like every single component that the Watcher could have disabled did it. Like how often do you see that shit? Like, you see, like, how often do you see every single component on a Pyramidion go down to a single Hwacha barrage? I mean, either you're missing one of the front guns or you're missing one of the engines or something. No, everything was red. Like, I could not believe that I actually saw that. And, like, I think DPA didn't see it coming either. Like, they were just like, oh, God, what do we do? And, like, everything was red for, like, 5 or 10 seconds longer than it should have, because I think they were just stunned.
Yeah, when every component on a ship breaks in that span of time in mere moments, you're gonna lose your shit.
Well, we were just discussing just previously to that, not 5 minutes before that in the previous game, that we were saying how difficult it was to get that clean sweep. And the first thing I see when I switch over, somebody gets a clean sweep. Well, I might as well take my big foot out of my big mouth. Well, it obviously can happen.
You know, Glowwater Thrall is once again showing that they're a very dominant force in the Hammer division right now. They are, it's very tough to go against them. They're going to play mind games with you. They're going to get flanks on you. They're going to try to turn you around in your own ship. It's frightening to fight them. DPA did their best. Obviously, they had some organizational issues. They had some trouble. Hold on a sec.
Holding on.
Holding on. What's happening?
Did Dan just die? What happened?
No, I have a
I
cold and I
needed to
tried
puke.
not to sneeze.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I apologize for that, folks. Back to the thought. DPA had a little bit of organizational issues. There were some problems going on. I think, you know, they were hesitant to engage when they could have, and they tried to engage when they saw just slivers of ships. Oracle, you commented on that a couple of times where they were taking shots where it really didn't matter to in the first place, giving away their position. You don't really want to do that, especially on Peryton when it's possible to get really awesome flanks. So with that being said, DPA just, they need to work on things. They obviously need to get disciplined down a bit more. They need to really work on getting to know when to be aggressive and whatnot. It's a convincing win for Glowwater.
Yeah.
There are two things that I really wanted to sort of point out about that game. The first one is DPA's style is basically stopping aggression and then engaging on their terms, which is usually just like a straight up engagement. Like, they're not afraid to fight. I think that's one of the reasons they they're okay with, they used to be okay with sort of leaving the buff kit at home. Because they said, okay, you know what? Okay, well, we're gonna lose our armor. Well, we have more full NG kits. Like, we can take this rough and tumble fight. Like, that's cool. They took buff kits this time, and I don't think that didn't really change their strategy. But I mean, because they're not used to running those buff kits, they're used to just saying, okay, hey, wait, I see you there. Stop trying to sneak up on us. You can't do that. And they just did that over and over again. But the Glowwater Thralls, I mean, they're very used to getting spotted. I mean, when you flank so much, you're going to get spotted. You're going to get found out. And so they just redid it. They just did it again and again until finally they got the engagement they wanted. But I got to say, those engagements were, like, this is the second point I wanted to make. These engagements that Glowwater Thralls did were some of the best I've ever seen in my life. Like, and all the time I've been casting, it's incredible because, like, the Goldfish went out ahead, like 2v1, like survived, pulled this crazy, like they went down, bounced against a building and underneath this Pyramidion, and then like their Pyra came in behind and like took the Pyra that was farther behind the other one and took it. And then the other one was, oh god, the Crown Tyrant like went in alone against these two Pyramidions, took a bunch of fire, won the engagements with the one that it was firing on, and then right as it was about to eat mortar fire, the Goldfish comes in from behind and sweeps off of one engine. It was like oh my god, like the reliance on the other ship is just like, nah, I'm gonna be okay. That watch is gonna disable everything. I'm cool.
I think
Like,
that was some of the best watches you'd
man.
have seen for ages.
Scrimshaw
was
said in
incredible.
chat. Scrimshaw said in chat afterwards that he was perfectly okay letting one of those ships just do its thing because he knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that Watchafish was going to come in and completely disable it, and it would not be a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can get that with the Watchafish, you will win many a games. Unfortunately, you know, we all too often see that you know, you have some shots go wild, you have some shots that just don't end up doing anything, but then you have these magical games when every single shot is on point, every single shot like disables at least half a ship, and if you can get that done, Watch is one of the best weapons in the game.
Yeah, Watch is just wonderful for that.
It's brutal.
It's
I think
dangerous.
it's a really good combination with the Gat Mortar that's so popular right now, because a lot of it's great for disabling, but it also does quite a bit to the armor, just because you're hitting if you manage to actually disable anything, you're also doing a lot of damage to the armor because of the explosions. You're hitting multiple things. It's surprising. Like, it can rip through a good, third of someone's armor. Like I'm talking Pyramidion.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know. Pyramidion is like baseline for me because you see it so much.
Yeah, Pyramidion is that thing where the yardstick everything else is drawn against, isn't it? Can it beat a Pyramidion? Yes. Can it beat a Pyramidion? No. Oh.
God, chat's making me go red.
It just seems, chat's making you go red. Dan seems to be engrossed in it like it's a Death Eater from Harry Potter sucking the amusement out of his eyes. It just say something, Dan. Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Sorry. I'll stop taking a mic.
No worries. So yeah, but anyway, it was quite a convincing win for Glowwater Thralls.
No surprise. I mean,
and it continued.
Fine.
Yeah. I don't think the thing is, honestly, and nothing is DPA. They've done well, but I don't think really anybody was too surprised that the Thralls can take them out 5-0.
Yeah,
Glowwater Thralls are a force of nature. It's tough to go up against them.
Yeah, Glowwater Thralls are just madness. Just complete madness. You wonder how they get it so right every time. I've never seen anyone else do it like that.
They're an amazing team. They put a lot of effort into
Yeah,
what they do.
I think there's not much argument that the Glowwater Thralls and maybe we'll see an upset, but I don't think we're going to see anything other than Glowwater Thralls and HRA in the number 1 and 2 slots in the siege for the gold bracket. And I want to see those guys fight so badly. Like, you have like the sweet. I think I said this last time, last chat. Like, I'm so pumped for this game. Like, I really want it to happen. It's going to be the super regimented and more than anything reliable nature of the HRA going up against like the insane manipulating Glowwater Thralls, and it's going to be like, can the Glowwater Thralls manipulate HRA into
The Glowwater
making a
Thralls-
bad move?
The Glowwater Thralls are like the Leroy Jenkins that actually gets it right. Let's do this. Poof, straight through.
They run over one egg at a time, you mean?
Yeah, it's a combination of the Glowwater Thralls are an unstoppable force, whereas the militaristic determination and discipline of HRA is the immovable object.
Yeah, so
Who gives out first?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. HRA just doesn't make mistakes. And that's crazy to think about, because everybody in this game during matches will make mistakes, and they just haven't done it.
They don't.
And if you make no mistakes and your teammates make mistakes, you're going to win in competitive matches like this. That's a determining factor. And HRA is solid enough to where if you do not play the perfect game, you will not beat them.
And that's another really good point. In the HRA's schedule, I don't see anyone that's going to effectively beat them. It's Cake next week, and as much as I love my Cakes, HRA is really difficult to do.
It is Cake next week. Yeah.
And then Sacrilege after that. I don't see HRA losing to Sacrilege. Again, Sacrilege, a wonderful team. We got our interview in with Tropo this week. I don't see Sac taking on HRA. For Glowwater Thralls, next week it's Overwatch. Overwatch has been struggling lately, something fierce. I'm really concerned for what's going on with them. They're 1-5 right now in the tournament. I don't see them taking on Glowwater Thralls effectively.
Yeah, I remember when Overwatch used to be pretty badass. It just
Yeah.
seems that a lot of those players have either wound down their operations with them, and just no one stepped up to replace that just yet. I'm hoping,
think-
say, next thing we have another badass Overwatch team. We all sit there and go, bloody hell, you just blew my mind. Where did these people come from?
Mm-hmm.
I think I think more than anything, they're having trouble keeping up with the meta. I mean, the meta, we've seen like a meta game in the Hephaestus sort of develop. We saw like nothing but like meta midians in the beginning, but obviously that's changed. We're seeing, blender fish, we're seeing watcha fish make a really big comeback.
Yeah.
The carrot became a thing, like carrot Artemis. Who saw that?
That makes me so happy
Like,
to have seen grow.
Hades
so
Flak
cool.
has shown up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Hades, well, I mean, Hades Flak was kind of like predicted after the Echidna buff. Like,
Yeah,
I
sort
think
of,
people
but-
we were just kind of waiting.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
first
we
3
can-
weeks we didn't see much of it, but now we're seeing it as something. We're not surprised to see it, but it's still
Yeah.
exciting to see.
It was just
and
this
I
quiet
think-
thing with an exponential growth. You're right.
Yeah, and I really think that Overwatch more than anything has just been struggling keeping up with it, like keeping up with the meta and learning how to fight these new builds and new tactics too. I mean, teams are getting better about splitting. They're getting better about flying close together. Overwatch typically ripped people apart that couldn't do really, couldn't do super coordinated things, but
Yeah.
they sort of thrived on that. And they're really good at forcing people into those positions. But now teams are showing themselves to be more solid. They're employing these advanced tactics, and Overwatch is having trouble keeping up with it.
I'd agree.
Now, one thing that we do have come up for Global Art of Thralls Week 8, as we mentioned before, the writers apparently are saying in chat that they might have a little trouble putting a team together that week because they're going to lose a lot of people on a vacation that's going on.
Who, the writers or the Thralls?
The Thralls.
Ooh. I
So
hope they
we'll
get.
see
I
if-
hope they can get that together.
Yeah, we'll see if that game actually is able to happen in the first place. I really do, because I love both those teams. Global Art of Thralls ranked first. The Riders ranked third right now in the Hephaestus Challenge overall. I really want to see that game happen. I want that game to happen so badly because it's so much fun.
Yeah. That way.
No
Solid
disagreements.
defense.
We
Moving
might
on-
need show
moving on.
matches.
Moving on to game 3 for you, Imagine. What did you have?
So we had the Art of Warfare and the Bully Boys, Black Flag Squadron going up against each other. It was a battle of 0-4 teams, so they're kind of duking it out to at least break the dam of the victory, column, maybe get going on there. And we had a really, really dirty fighting going on. Really, really. I didn't want to use this on my stream, and I hope it's not a problem that I use it on your stream, but it was a clusterfuck. Like, that's what that was.
It was. It was just complete madness.
Clusterfuck. It was full of like, and the builds were kind of weird. Like, there was a Gat Flak and a Carronade Flamer Junker with a Gatling up front. We had a Watcha Fish with the.
Watch a fish with
We had a
flamer
Watcha Fish
gas.
with, but not just that. A Watcha Fish ammo that was being used was charged.
Charged, Lesmark, and greased, I think they were. And we sat there and we were thinking, what are they going to use it for? He never changed from charged, so we didn't figure out. We tried to unbox this little mystery, and it never happened.
Okay, I think I know what they were doing. Maybe they were taking those ammo types to try and load those into the side guns.
Yeah. I mean, there was a Gatling and a flamethrower, so it ended up making kind of sense, but still charged on a Watcha.
I don't care if it makes sense. You just have the NGs bring the ammo instead.
Yeah, no. So
it's odd.
It was a really strange setup to a game. Of course, it was also in Periton, so everything's like, and they're like both teams are flying low.
Oh yeah,
already. Like they're basically at ground level, and there's a bunch of carronades.
Yeah, it's almost as if someone sat down and went, "Okay, let's get low and let's get fast, and straight at each other's faces. Let's see what happens."
Yeah, and so there was a lot of just slamming into each other, and they were like fighting between buildings the entire time, and like, you know how Periton usually when you get to the ground, it's just flat. Well, they were playing in one of these areas where it's like flat on two sides, and there's a divot, so you'd get like ships just like running into the side of those divots and just like dying there. It was really dirty. I mean, it was spectacular because there was just constant action and like 4 ships in the same cubic foot of space.
You could have You could have thrown a
concentrated Pyrrha.
spanner in any direction, hit someone else's ship. It was funny.
We had a flamethrower hitting 2 ships at once.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
But it happened more than once. We're sitting there going, wait, is he getting them both?
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, he's getting them both.
Particles going on in both ships. So yeah, it was pretty crazy battle. BFS ends up winning out. There was a really extremely clutch flare that happened. Basically, the BFS was up like 4-1 or something, and both of the Art of Warfare ships respawn, and they're coming up around the side. The BFS team is turned the other direction, and like right as the Art of Warfare gets there, a flare goes up from BFS, illuminates the approach, and they just managed to turn around just in time to be able to face them. Otherwise, they're going to get caught from behind and, I mean, quite easily being taken out there.
Yeah.
I gotta think that was, drums are off. Let's throw up a flare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, when you get close to each other in battle, even if you're not shooting at each other, drums start playing as music.
Battle drums.
Personally,
Battle drums.
that is one of my personal pet peeves in the game, and that I don't understand why it's still in there.
I
turn the
music
sound
turned
off to get rid
I
of
don't
that.
like it.
Yeah,
I
played the
don't have
same
music
day.
on either, but like, why won't you have it on the competitive? Like, somebody on your team has to have it on the
It's
competitive.
such a big
game.
advantage.
So anyway, the point is that I'm sure that's why that flare came up, but still, I mean, it came up at the exact right time, like 10 seconds later, and a watch goes off into Pyramidian's back, and it can't turn, and now you got the other ship coming in, taking out, carronading down the junker, and so it could have gotten really disgusting for BFS, but they did manage to get it up in time, and that was basically the end of that.
Something else we saw a lot as well, which I don't think helped them, was for some reason allies kept thwumping into each other, is the other term. Just little bumps which kind of ruin their allies' aim, like Pyramid going underneath the goldfish and bumping it up just a bit too high to watch or anybody. It's like, oh no, what did you do that for? No.
It's like 2 lions fighting for the same piece of meat.
Yeah.
They're just slamming into each other, and neither can really get at the meat that's lying on the ground. But like, I don't know. That's an analogy, right?
It was good fun to watch, but it left everyone afterwards scratching their heads, going, "Well, it was fun, but what happened?"
Yeah.
There was once when I saw, I think it was one of the most amusing things I'd ever seen. It might have been, what was it, during the Iron Fork, or was it like last week? I don't remember, but there was one point, I think it was a competitive match. A Pyrrha was moving forward. It accidentally rammed its ally, but it sent it like sent the guns into arc. So
I've seen
this
that
other
before,
fish
yeah.
had already like fired off its payload. It might have been a watcher fish or something. Pyrrha rams it, and it bumps the guns into arc like no problem. It was so funny.
Well, let me just help you with that. There you go.
Yeah.
Who needs Phoenix Club when you can get your teammate to ram you into arc, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking Talladega Nights.
New meta.
Great win for the Black Flight Squadron.
Yep, they do
needed
break
it.
the dam. Yep.
They get that win. They're still gonna be in Silver League no matter what. There's no way for them to get out of it. They have to fight through it, but at least they can get some positioning at this point. Now, looking over BFS's schedule, they have Sack and Cake still to go against.
That's gonna be tough.
That's going to be hard.
Sack is a little frazzled, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
But I still think they can definitely beat them. And Cake has just been Cake. Like, they've just been dropping through most people. They have one loss, but they are still very strong, and so it's going to be hard for them. A lot of it may depend on map rolls, but after this week, Cake has shown that they can play the long game as anyone else.
I mean, which map are they? Oh, it doesn't have the maps yet.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be whoever gets, especially with the Cake game. I think it's going to be very map specific.
Sure. So moving on
maybe
to the last game we had on the Robin Dan Show stream, Mad Hatters versus Overwatch. Now, originally I thought Overwatch would eke this one out, but they kind of showed what cobwebs they had in this game, and it's just Mad Hatters really does a great job of outplaying them.
I have so much to say about that match.
Go ahead.
I just don't know where to start.
Have at it.
So
let's start at Blenderfish. Let's start at Blenderfish.
Yeah.
Okay, damn. I mean, like, how big do your like balls have to be to bring a blenderfish against two pyramidians? One of them being like an Artemis carronade. Like, how like either foolhardy or stupid do you need to be to do that? Like, and like still be confident doing it. Like the way he played it, he's just like, nah, fuck it, I got this. Because it started out, the first engagement just like absolutely blew my mind because the midnight was being focused down. And the blenderfish was like, nope, not letting that happen. So he charges in. And I was like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. And I'm a carronade fish. You don't want to let me get too close. And then Overwatch is just like, no, screw you. We're hitting the Hades echidna. And the blenderfish is just like, oh, okay. So I guess I'm going to get closer. All right. So he does this crazy, like, silly move. Like, I think he must have been like showing his peacock feathers or something, because like he turns around and like shows his engines and is just like, hey, look at me, I'm showing my engines. And Overwatch is just like, yeah, we don't care. So like the blenderfish says like, okay, so he just backs up, slides between the rib and the pira, and then he says, oh, I'm behind you now, you have to pay attention to me. Overwatch is like, nah, whatever.
It's like a little kid. Pay attention to me. No,
Yeah,
go away.
Yeah, you know what this little kid did next? Is he popped both of their balloons because he had arc on both of them. So like, Overwatch, like, because they ignored this blenderfish, they lost both their balloons. And then like, it was the most amusing thing. The way I had my camera was like, I had it right around the rib, and at the midnight just kind of like sneaked in around this rib, like poked his nose. I was like, hi guys, sort of a sort
Just
of a
creeping in.
it was sort of a kaiju-esque thing with like it just creeping around the corners, like, I'm here, or like, I don't know, like
that tentacle
like
arm
Freddy,
in War of the Worlds.
like Freddy, like you know, it's like Freddy like putting his nails on the wall and looking around.
It was a Scooby-Doo moment. Let's put it that. It was Scooby-Doo. It was Scooby-Doo.
So, like,
ooh,
like
look at that,
was,
Shaggy.
That was basically the story of like, of ignoring a blenderfish. Like, the blenderfish shouldn't have had a problem. But like, or I mean, the blenderfish should have had like every problem. Like the carronade Artemis should have taken care of it immediately, but they ignored it. And they just picked their targets poorly. I wonder if it was just like a lack of leadership or lack of targets being called or something.
Yeah, no, I mean, I watched a part of that. It was actually really weird because I was typing in chat, like, why is that pyramid still, like, I think that one of the Overwatch pyramids were just lasting forever too. I mean, you know, I know they ended up losing, but one of those pyros was like living for way too long with no help. But yeah, no, it's Mad Hatter's just handled their business really. Overwatch.
Yeah.
They didn't like, this isn't so like the Hatters. Like the Hatters were given an opportunity and they ran with it. Like it. No.
Yep.
They played it very well. I think the Hatters, I don't know, they sort of inherited the Hatters legacy of being really adaptable. It's just like, oh, like, look, they're letting the blenderfish get by. Okay, sure, let's do it.
One definitive moment, in my opinion, was when one of the Overwatch Pyramidians simply gave the blenderfish its engine column and said, here is my engine column for you. It is my gift to you. Take it. And the blenderfish said, okay, rip, tear, shred. Oh, your armor's gone?
Just do me right in the butt. Just right in the butt right now.
No.
For crying out loud.
No.
Can I put it in your butt? Can you put it in my what?
Oracle.
You know it's bad when I'm saying Jesus wept. Give over, Jess. Bloody Nora.
But yeah, no, it's I mean, like, it's anytime you have your engine column exposed to a weapon that can take it out in a shot or two, it's horrible. It's actually horrible.
I mean, I feel not really bad for Overwatch, but frustrated for Overwatch because they used to do so well, and now they can't get people, and they just seem to be struggling so much. I just really want them to have a comeback as well. It was just so sad to watch that happen.
It was.
Well,
It
my
was
heartstrings
very tough.
got tugged just a little bit. Well, quite a lot.
Yeah, I know a lot of the Overwatch guys, and they're wonderful, the guys and girls over there, and I feel bad for them not really being able to put all the pieces together right now. As they're saying in chat, they have had a few manpower issues of making sure they can have regular folks at these events. That's tough to deal with. That's really hard to deal with.
I mean, even in the old days when you used to have Overwatch and Cake pretty much attached at the hip, and then you had Iris, the spin-off thing of Cake. Each side would be able to share people, but since they've become separated, there's none of that support for each other either. I think it's kind of sad that Overwatch has lost out there. Which is a shame.
It's unfortunate.
The thing is, this is a long league. You know, it's you're gonna have a lot of people invested in their time.
Yeah.
And the teams that are able to do that the most, you know, as we saw today, Sacrilege had time to replace their missing player, and they just didn't have a sub on hand.
Yeah.
So, like, if you don't have that available, you are going to be at a disadvantage.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And teams that do have that together, or they will be able to, you know, deal with these emergency situations better.
All right, so last game of the day over on your stream, Imagine. Cake versus Muse. Tell us what happened.
Well, so Muse took their Lumberfish once more. It was on Dunes, so it made sense. And then they just got whapped down by Merc, Artemis, Pyramidion, and double Artemis Junker. That's really the tale of the game. I thought that maybe Muse could do something with the fact that they had, you know, a nice lumberjack fish with Zemko piloting or gunning again. He did a great job versus Clamor that one match, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of lumberjack misses going on. Partially because Kavaius had to be doing this up and down thing to avoid shots all the time, and you know, anytime you're moving with a lumberjack, your shots are just like the accuracy rating of it goes down by
Zemko is an amazing gunner. I look up to the individual, but there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, it's like trying to shoot a flak on a heavy flak on a fast-moving, say, galleon. You're never going to hit anything.
Yeah, so you know that didn't help him. And Cake essentially just came out and said, "Okay, you're taking a goldfish, you're taking a heavy gun. We're gonna counter that. It's long range. We can use the Merc effectively. There's not going to be any really cover that you can get into."
Yeah.
And for some reason, Muse charged into it. Like they just kept on going forth.
That was odd.
Their Junker was pretty ineffective. Like it really didn't do much, and they ended up getting like one kill, I think. They finally managed to lumberjack somebody into the ground, but past that, it was just kind of throwing themselves at the enemy.
They got their one kill through how you'd expect them to have played from the start, sitting at the back and letting Cake come in to just have to get as close as they can to this lumberjack and let them take the hits rather than you take the hits and go to them, which they seem to be doing quite a lot. I don't understand. I didn't understand that methodology. But something else I did notice, it wasn't all Muse being bad. It wasn't at all.
Oh, no, definitely.
I did notice quite a lot. I mean, I think Dan will probably be able to vouch for this better, but Cake seems to have had a lot better accuracy than I've seen previously, especially with long-range guns.
They were on point.
Very much so.
With some of that Artemis fire, they were just...
Yeah, I mean, everything was sitting. And if you can hit a goldfish with a Mercury and 3 Artemis on just a shot after shot, that goldfish is going to be in a hell of a lot of trouble.
Yeah, they just seem to do very, very, very well. They seem to have everything coordinated just about right. You didn't even have any real reload gaps in there either. You didn't have, say, the big missile carrot salvo and then nothing for 4 or 5 seconds, then another carrot salvo. They didn't have any respite to get a few good hits down on the hole, a good mallet thwap or something. It just didn't seem to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, I think at least on my radar, this looked to be a very upset potential match. Yeah. Muse versus Cake, and Cake's just basically said they're gonna have none of it. they're just going to come out and beat this team. It was very straightforward, and it ended a day of very straightforward matches. Really, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of complexity. I mean, there were some interesting choices for sure, but when it came down to the actual gameplay, it was pretty straightforward of what was going on in all the matches.
Yeah, pretty much everything except the Merry Men, and that was about it. It was just everything came down to the numbers that you thought it would.
Uses over aggression has bit them more than once.
Yeah,
it's why they lost the game against DPA 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I don't mind aggressive firepower because I mean, if you're reaching out and touching someone with a lumberjack a little early, that can really help you. They're grounding out a little sooner. That can be a great tool. But when you're pushing your ship further and further forward, when you have a lumberjack on it without any really good reason, like Hephaestus was getting in really close there for some reason.
Yeah, he ran straight at that pyramid, and the pyramid just headbutted him to death.
Yeah, what do you think it's gonna do?
Someone get in contact with Zemco and tell him to bring Loch Nagar.
Man.
This is happening over and over again. You may as well do something.
Yeah,
if they wanted to have gotten close and have still used a lumberjack and use those heavy guns in a good fight, why not bring a galleon? Realistically, why not bring a galleon? If they'd have done that same method with a galleon, it would have lasted longer. They would have been a lot tougher, and they would have had a second gun for backup when that lumberjack was ineffective. So, I don't know.
It wasn't, and as Morty said, it wasn't that Muse played horribly. They may have made a couple of missteps. They may have missed too many shots, but Cake played it the right way. They brought the right build to counter what they were facing against, and they executed it, and that leads them to a victory. It was 5-1, I think.
5-1, yeah. I mean, as we've said, the only time that Muse got that score was when they sat back and did what they were supposed to. And then when Cake split up and they had that junker pinned down in the ribs, that was a perfect scenario. Yet it still didn't quite pan out right, did it?
They came in too close.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it comes down to.
When a team gets trapped in the Leviathan, that's a really compromising situation because not only do you have nowhere to run,
especially in the middle of a dust cloud.
Yeah, I was gonna say dust clouds are rolling in over and over and over again. So they just pick a point right at the end of the dust cloud or something, or in the middle of it, they just start firing. But they didn't take a wide enough berth, or however you pronounce that, berth.
Whichever.
Yeah, I just realized it was a 5-2 or it was 4-2 at that time because the junker had died.
Yeah.
And the pyro was charging forward and needed to get that kill, otherwise it was about to go to 4-3.
Oh yeah, it was an absolute clutch.
Which could have been anybody's game at that point because 2 kills wins it. But yeah, so it was just managed to get the kill at the end. So a little shaky at the end there, perhaps, but for the most part, it was a Cake dominated match.
Yeah, Cake just played exceptionally well. I'm so happy for my Cakes.
I have been reading chat. Merc also counters the heavy guns really.
Yes, it does very well.
It's I don't have to worry about any appreciable arc, and it's heavy hitting enough that it's just a no-brainer. You saw it with the Mobulas earlier, and you saw it again with Cake. Those Mercuries just pin things down very easily. When your objective is to strip out parts and then slowly beat someone into a fine mist, then yeah.
So coming up next week, we have Lowwater Thralls versus Overwatch, DPA versus Mad Hatters, Ryder versus Muse, and Clamor versus Sir for the Hammer division. And then for the Anvil division, BFS versus Sacrilege, Art of War versus the Merry Men, and HRA versus Cake. I definitely think HRA versus Cake is going to be the game to watch for that one, but I'm really looking forward to Clamor versus Sir. Sir has tripped up a couple times. They're going in to this one 3-2. Clamor going into this 1-4. So, that's a chance for the Clamor to kind of even up the score there and give themselves a second win. But with the play they had today, I'm not sure they can come out on top of that one.
Maybe. What are your opinions to the DPA and Mad Hatters game? Because I'm in two minds about what to expect out of that.
DPA had a really nice upswing during the central part of the season.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that was solid or just a flash in the pan, because they just did not have too terribly much this week versus Glowwater Thralls. Now, maybe that's just because the Glowwater Thralls are just a really intense team to go against.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to see more happen from them, because even Art of Warfare had 2 kills on Holy Roman Army when they went up against them. I mean, Art of Warfare hasn't gotten a win yet, but they got a couple kills on one of the highest ranked teams there is.
Yeah.
I really wanted to see DPA, which has had 2 wins already, get at least a couple kills on Glowwater Thralls. So, I think that might go the Mad Hatter's way. The Mad Hatters show that they put things back together. They've really put the pieces back together this week, and they're marching forward. They're not letting anything stop them.
Yeah.
Well, and the interesting thing is about the Sky Invading Rhinos is, so right now with Sky Invading Rhinos and Zeal's Merry Men being 3-2, neither of them can afford to lose another game, and so both of them are going to have to play extremely well and win out. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to crack that top 3.
Well, I think the Merry Men are going to have an easier time of it next week than the Rhinos are, if you're looking at, because the Rhinos are playing Clamor and Merry Men are playing the Art of Warfare. So I think the Merry Men may have a slightly better time of that. I can't see the Merry Men struggling very much.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But the point is if you're talking about the Clamor versus Sky Invading Rhinos, it's Sir has to win. Like, there's just nothing else to it. Like, none of those teams can afford to lose at this point.
Yep.
Otherwise,
Yep.
And
like, pack is really tight we're going into week 7.
Yeah, I'm glad it's actually pretty tight. Honestly, it makes it a very compelling. I think we're going to have some very compelling matches in the final week for first and second and third and fourth, I think, because they're just going to be 2 very evenly scored teams, I'd imagine. Yeah.
Also, BFS versus Sacrilege. BFS may be down, but they are certainly not out for the count. They brawled really well today, from what I saw on the stream. I think Sac might have a little bit of a tough time with them, and Sacrilege definitely needs to get another win. Absolutely, if they want a good position going into the postseason. Also, Overwatch versus Glowwater Thralls. Overwatch, again, we've seen some struggles from them, but they duel Glowwater Thralls regularly. They scrimmage them often, so they know what they have to deal with going into this. So I think that's going to be a lot better game than most people might give it credit for.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I very much agree with that.
There's a lot of games, though, coming up here next week.
Yep.
A lot of great games coming up here next week. Don't miss it, folks. Week 7 and week 8 are going to be
we're getting down the last 2 weeks. I mean, this is when people are going to have to push their noses and really, really practice. Like, you can't kid around anymore.
Yeah. You can't bring, like, your untested experimental builds anymore. You've got to go for what works and what you think you can adapt to.
And if I am not incorrect, I do believe the 5-win teams, Glowwater Thralls and HRA, have locked down their Gold League positions.
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to get anywhere near that now.
Yeah.
I think now it's just going to be holding on to their number 1 and number 2 seeds.
Yep. And it's going to be seeing how well Cake, Ryder, and the Sky Invading Rhinos can what they can do to make sure they keep their Gold League seeds.
Yeah, absolutely. Cake and the Riders are definitely in their driver's seat. They definitely are able to, if they win out, they've got it. Like, there's no question about that. They cannot be passed up if they win out. But Cake has to face HRA still, I think, right?
Yeah. Cake has a tough schedule to go up against. HRA is a very hard team to fight right now. Just a very difficult team. The week after that, they have BFS. Now, again, a lot of people
against BFS, you'd think that just looking at how this season has gone so far, Cake would probably be favored, but you can't. Like, you don't. If you lose versus HRA, you cannot afford to then come into BFS and saying, "Oh, well, we got this," and no problem. Like, if you do that and you lose, you might actually end up not going on, because if the Merry Men and the Rhinos win out, then all of a sudden Cake's down. So you can't. There's no relaxing here.
Honestly, I think the next game with Cake is going to be unusually cautious. I think there's going to be a lot of cautious play there, a lot of sniping matches, depending on map. Obviously, depending on map, wait to be announced and so on. If we can say, nuts, I forgot the name of it. That really tiny map where you can spawn anywhere you like.
Duel at Dawn.
Duel at Dawn. If we get a Duel at Dawn, we'll probably see a brawl. Anything bigger than that, I expect Cake to try and give Holy Roman Army another run around.
Here's the thing.
Yep.
Cake,
Like they did with Sack.
the way that Cake is shown to excel is actually kind of the opposite. I've mentioned this before. It's like the opposite of what Overwatch used to be. Overwatch used to be able to get the perfect engagement, but then they couldn't finish it out. Cake is the opposite. They get a decent engagement. It turns into a nasty brawl, and they just don't lose those. Like they're really good at them. What I'm concerned about for Cake is I don't think the Holy Roman Army is going to let engagements go beyond a minute. Never.
No.
Yeah, and I said, Holy just doesn't make their mistakes, and so if there's nothing to capitalize on, then it's going to be very hard to get those kills, and that's why Holy is. I think they're at 25 kills and 4 deaths or something like that.
24 kills and 5 deaths.
Yeah, that's a 5. That means you're winning every game by 1 at the worst.
At average, yeah.
That's just madness.
And because they don't make those mistakes, because the other team cannot capitalize on anything that they're doing wrong, and so that's why I said Cake has to bring possibly the best match they've ever played in their competitive life to win that game.
Yeah.
That having been said, Holy also cannot allow them to, they've got a top spot locked up, sure, but they cannot let themselves falter and think that they can just, waltz through the rest of these 2 games, because you don't want to be going into the postseason on a losing streak by any means.
Yeah, they can't take an easy week.
No.
I think I think the 2 teams that might be able to break Holy Roman Army are Glowwater Thralls and Cake. Not necessarily because they're the next best teams. It's because of the way they play. These are teams that break other teams. It's not about building themselves up. It's about breaking their opponents down. Glowwater Thralls does it by flanking. Cake does it by getting a super awkward engagement and just being good in that situation.
Yeah.
And I think if we are going to see HRI make a mistake in the group stage, it's going to be next week.
Yeah. HRA, if you look at the previous games they've played, they're very cut and dry. They're very simple. 1 and 2 equals 3. They do this, they get this result. I think with Cake does have that spanner in the works ability of, they have that strange idiocy to throw off your chem spray arcs, making their flamers a little bit better. They do have those little, I call it maybe idiosyncrasies, maybe clever things that none of us have figured out why or how they do it. It might just happen by accident. That they can create a small opening and then work that opening as best they can.
They drill hard.
Yeah.
Yep. So BFS, HRA, I don't see Cake winning against. Maybe there's a chance. But...
I would, if I was in a tipping thread, that would be my upset of the week. I would probably choose HRA over Cake, but choose that as my upset of the week.
If Cake pulled that off, I think that would be the upset of the series so far. I think that would be the upset of my life. Not to that flip table. I'm done.
Now, needless to say, the other teams in the upper part of the brackets are going to have a tough schedule as well. SAC has to deal with BFS and HRA next week as well, in the weeks to come, rather. The Merry Men, Art of War, they have a good shot against them, and Sky Invading Rhinos. Sky Invading Rhinos is going to be a very rough week.
I mean, that might deter. That could very well determine who gets the 3rd spot in the Anvil division. It could very well come down to that. But and the thing is, that's kind of how you want it to be, right? You want to be the master of your own fate. You don't want it to be okay, well, if we win these games and if they lose those games, then maybe we can go through. You want it to come down to where, hey, we got 1 match. We win this, we're in. If we lose it, it's our own damn fault.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Ryder, which right now is in 3rd. They have to deal with Muse. I don't think they're gonna have too much trouble with that. But then they have to deal with Glowwater Thralls in week 8. One of those teams is getting a loss. Either the number 1 team or the number 3 team is getting a loss.
And nobody wants to go against the Thralls.
No,
There's not a single team who would be like, you know what? Let me play the Thralls right now. I think we got this.
Thralls were the favorites going into this. I think HRA kind of came in and surprised everyone with their ridiculous regimented style. But yeah, they're the dark horse. But we've said this in like a couple weeks ago or something. Like Glowwater Thralls, like were the favorites coming in, and HRA just kind of sweeping everyone off their feet. It's it's surprising. And
we've seen a couple of those, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's kind of a mix of this like kind of old and new though. Like you got the Thralls who are very, one of the oldest teams, even, going back to where before they were the Thralls, even then a lot of their members were extremely good. And then you got kind of like the new guard with HRA and, even to some extent Cake, because this is their
first proper time to do very well.
Into like major competitive.
I think the Glowwater Thralls represent the old even more because
that's what I'm saying.
Scrimscraw has gone on record saying like none of their ideas are original. Like they've stolen everything from other teams, and so all their stuff is old. Like, and that's not to say that they haven't separated the wheat from the chaff over time, but certainly they're using older tactics.
They've simply said if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's working fine. Let's just use the tools we have available.
Yeah,
but they're not taking things that are easily countered. I think that's the big thing. We saw today the clamor.
Except sometimes the Spire.
Junker.
You spell a Spire can beat the snot out of a fair few people, but Pyras and Junkers are the
they've been taking a Mobula to a bunch of these games and winning, so anything's possible at this point.
Mobula's fine.
Mobula has come on leaps and bounds from when it first started. When they first introduced the Mobula, I used to sit there and think, oh, that's just a useless, fluffy pillow of nonsense.
Back when people thought that you needed to be symmetrical.
Yeah, everyone thought that, you got to have this side, and this side, and you got to have them exact same places. No, not to that. Get weird. Get weird with your Mobula.
Double mortar, terrifying.
Artemis is with mines. What you going to charge us with your Pyramidion? Here, have a mine. Bink.
Yes,
just weird things. Just go nuts with a Mobula, and see what happens. What's the worst that's going to happen? Yeah, you fail and you try something stupid next week as well.
All right.
Anyway,
that has been a very long post-day overview show for you guys. Any closing thoughts? Oracle, you first.
Not even giving me a chance to collect my thoughts.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think right now the teams have kind of been tiered, but what we have left is the teams fighting other teams in the same tier. So I think that this group stage is going to be terrifying, and I am really interested to see what's going to happen in the Silver League. I get the feeling we're going to have a couple of teams that are like going to be the favorites. To win the Silver League. I mean that's not really any question, but I think I think that we're going to get more than a few surprises before
we're going to recognize a lot of the names in the Silver League, teams that we normally see, towards the top. We're going to see the Ducks. We're going to see Overwatch. We might very well see the Merry Men and Mad Hatters.
You could see, if everything goes poorly, a couple of others, couldn't you? So,
it depends how these last 2 weeks pan out. Obviously, Glowwater Thralls, HRA in the Gold League already. There's no way they can get knocked out of it at this point. Have done a great job so far. Next week, another major week. Upsets have the opportunity to happen. We'll see where things go. Back to closing thoughts here. Imagine, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just glad it's been such a great league as it has been. Every week, even if it's a really straightforward match like it was today, it was still great and exciting to watch, and it's still very fun for me, at least. I'm hoping I'm not the only one to keep track of how these teams are doing and how they could possibly end up in the end. And it's great that every week we have very meaningful games.
I have
whether or not it ends up being a one-sided match, we have games that have a real implication on everything that's going on.
I have all these notes.
Yeah.
I've just taken pages and pages, an entire notebook full of notes and information from everything that's happened, and it is a statistician's festival.
Oh, absolutely. No,
it's good job, Dan.
A-. How dare you give him the minus? Yeah, no. So I'm just glad that it's been. I think a lot of people had maybe a little bit of trepidation about how the league was going to go at the start because nobody really knew. This was done before here, and I think it's ended up really awesome. meeting and exceeding almost everybody's expectations, including my own.
Yeah.
Like honestly,
it's been badass,
including my own.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. Morty, your closing thoughts?
Right. So it's to piggyback off what has been said so far. When we first started this and looking at how everything was laid up, you do look at it and think, well, is there going to be that one team that's going to be miles and miles and miles ahead of everybody else? And you just sit there and go, oh, they're going to win again. No, there wasn't. It turns out that everyone was mixed up very, very well, and that happened fantastically well. You've got one fantastic A-rated team on High Division, one A-rated team on Anvil Division. Then everyone else after that is pretty much only 1 or 2 degrees separate from each other. I'm looking forward to these Gold and Silver Leagues because I think Gold League, don't get me wrong, I think Gold League is going to be very cut and dry, very straightforward, very simple, quite vicious fighting. And I'm looking at Silver League, and I just want it to go nuts. I want it to be bananas. Can we have a match where just everyone takes a mine junker and see what happens? Please. Mine junkers, harpoon squids, just I want to see madness come out of it. And I'm just hoping that after this, Nick, you get some good laughs out of it. And I'm just hoping that everyone's going to come away from this and go, yeah, we didn't do well, but by golly, we had some fun.
Yeah.
Silver League, like, it's pretty brutal. The idea of the Silver League being like only one team from the bottom 2/3 gets to also move on to the Gold League, like. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Like, what a cutoff. I mean, you have to win the Silver League just to get into the Gold. Like, that's like a loser's bracket of hell.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's actually what I was about to say too. I mean, if you look at any other big esports things, if you take a look at losers brackets, if it's a double elimination type thing, those loser brackets are absolutely, like, it's just disgusting what goes on in those. Like, you have such good players and in this case, such good teams that are going to have to just wreck face in order to move through.
Yeah.
It'll definitely be a big fight.
It's go on.
A lot of major teams are going to have a lot of ground to cover. Overwatch, Clamor, BFS, they're all going to have a lot of clawing and scraping to do just to get up to where I believe they think they should be, which is definitely in the Gold League. Like, I know Ducks especially, they don't like to lose.
No.
At all.
And they never used to lose, which is strange to me. Yeah, it's like, to use a British football analogy, you come from a lower division, you go, yes, I've done so well, I'm passed, I'm up through, I'm up into the next one with the big boys. Oh, yeah, they really are big boys. Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, bollocks.
So with that being said, where can people find your stream and your videos on demand?
So stream is twitch.tv/imagine42. You can, I have all my VODs saved there if you want to watch it there for some reason. But you can also watch the cut up versions of it, so there's no breaks in between. It'll be on youtube.com/imagine42gaming. I am actually uploading the VODs as we speak. So they should be up there in the next hour or so. You can also go into the forums in the Hephaestus challenge section. There's an Anvil Division VODs that they'll be posted to if you don't want to find the links for it.
There you go. You can find us, of course, at twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show. You can find our YouTube page at youtube.com/The Rob and Dan Show. And you can find our dual stream page for the Hephaestus Challenge at robanddan.tv/live. Both streams up there. both chat rooms. You can experience everything that goes on with the Hephaestus Challenge. It also goes to help support both streams as they're happening at the same time. It gives us that extra little number boost that comes along with someone watching each stream. It does a big job to support everyone involved, and that means so much to us. So thank you for participating in that, folks. For Oracle, Imagine, Morty, and Rob on the cameras and operations. Thank you so much for joining us here at twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show and twitch.tv/Imagine42. Good night now, and don't miss the next week of Hephaestus Challenge right here on robanddan.tv/live.